Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined alongside Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. It's rivalry week, boys. Bears and Packers. I've always been a little jealous, actually, as a Vikings fan. I don't like to say this very often, but it just feels, you feel left out whenever you ask a Packers fan who's your biggest rival. It's always, well, the Vikings have been really good lately, but the Bears. You ask a Bears fan, the Vikings are kind of annoying, but the Packers. It feels like you're that third sibling who's never really able to compete with the older siblings in terms of that rivalry. The Vikings are much better than the Bears all time outside of the Super Bowl category. But it's just it's always been a little thorn in my category. Side. I know it's the biggest cat. It's horrible. But that's always been a little thorn in my side. I get a little jealous. I'm not sure if you feel that way, Ziggy, as a new Viking fan, but I've always sort of had that feeling. If you've been,
we're perennially last place, right? It's not a surprise that even in who do the Packers like beating up on the most, we're not high on the list.
Well, you just got to form a rivalry now with the Lions, like a Vikings-Lions type of big rivalry.
No, see, the Lions are like your third cousin that you really never think about.
They don't even really know exists.
But here they are now. Years later.
Well, they started working out. They got older. They grew up.
Yeah, making millions of dollars, and now everyone's like, they're in the family, right? Why don't we hang out with them? But I've always had a little jealousy there. So if you're enjoying these videos, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 15,000 subscribers. Maybe after this Packers-Bears game, we could get over the hump there. We appreciate everyone who's been listening. If you can't watch on YouTube, you can always listen on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So it's been a really interesting week in the NFC North, especially, and it's been headlined by the Chicago Bears. I don't know how much people have been paying attention, but Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, fired, let go. He's no longer a part of the Chicago Bears organization. They have Thomas Brown filling in. Jack, I don't think you know too much about Thomas Brown, just off the top of my head. Do you have any idea who he served as the offensive coordinator for last season?
Thomas Brown.
Tommy Brown.
Tommy Brown.
I don't think anyone calls him Tommy Brown.
University of Michigan.
The Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
So when we talk about your dislike and disbelief in Bryce Young and Caleb Williams, it actually also might just be associated with Thomas Brown, which you may not even know.
I didn't know. That's actually very funny.
Yeah, that could be the situation. So Thomas Brown comes into a situation now where he has to try and fix a Bears offense that has just been regressing at a pretty remarkable rate, given where they were just a few weeks ago. You think about the Bears season, man. You're 4-2, a Hail Mary away from going to 5-2, and probably a good amount of these problems are still being swept under the rug. They might even beat the Patriots had they beaten the Commanders. I think momentum is that important in the NFL, where that one play, we'll see the ultimate impact on the Bears season, but Thomas Brown now has a really big task ahead of him. And it's got me thinking, Ziggy, I'm going to throw this to you. I said right before we started, I have a question that I don't know if anyone really can give an answer to. But there's so many Bears fans who've been coming out this week saying we're cursed. We always screw this up. Like, it's just a black cloud organization. There's no way we can fix it. I'm trying to think to myself, like, what the hell is wrong in Chicago that this happens every single time? Like, does anyone have a theory, a working theory? It could be one of your ridiculous ones, Jack. I can't.
I have a real theory.
Yeah.
So here I'll say a fact. There have been two offensive coordinators fired in the NFL this season: Luke Getsy and Shane Waldron. Both of those guys were the two guys that Matt Eberflus has picked. When you've got the team structure they do, where you've got a president that's sort of running everything, and then a GM, and then the coach, it's very hard to attract a lot of the best coaches in the NFL. Why? Because the best coaches in the NFL, they want control. And I know, like, this isn't just Bill Belichick, right? Andy Reid wants a lot of control. Mike Tomlin, the Steelers don't give him unlimited control, but he certainly gets a big input. It's hard to attract the most exciting coaching candidates in the NFL if you're saying, yeah, you're going to be third or fourth in line for making personnel decisions. So that's certainly part of it. The ownership is just bad. It's just been bad for a long time. The McCaskies, I'm sure they're nice people, but they don't seem to be very effective at managing this football team and haven't been able to figure out the organizational structure that works. And some of it, I think, really is just the Bears have gotten unlucky. There's no doubt about it. Even with those constraints, it's hard to screw up everything you do. And somehow It seems every coach they bring in ends up being a bust. Every quarterback they bring in ends up being a bust. It's not just luck, obviously. But I mean, you look at like Andrew Luck stepped in and transformed a Colts offense. Like guys can come in and do that. Joe Burrow, how long were the Bengals totally useless?
Josh Allen.
New ownership for the Bengals and for the Lions sort of transformed those teams. It's just never happened for the Bears.
Oh, so you're calling for ownership to step down in Chicago.
I mean, it's not going to happen. It doesn't even have to be ownership stepping down, right? But the Bengals, Michael Brown's their owner, whoever his daughter is, I think it's Stephanie Brown. I can't remember her name, but like once she took over, things totally changed for this team. I know it's very easy to sort of look past, especially if you're a Packers fan and don't know what it's like to be subject to the whims of an owner. But having a bad owner is about as bad as it can be. And if you look at what the perennial losers in the NFL, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Bears, what do they all have in common? Some of the worst ownership in the sport.
Is Stephanie Brown a pretty girl?
I was waiting for that. The second Ziggy said it, I was waiting for that.
When you talk about bad ownership, you're preaching to the choir with a Pittsburgh Pirates fan here.
Oh, you talk about this all the time.
All the time, yeah. So I
Katie Blackburn. Stephanie Brown is Batwoman. I don't know where I got Stephanie.
Wait, what? What?
Wait, there's a Batwoman?
Wait, she plays Batwoman, or that is like Bruce Banner?
No. Stephanie Brown is the name of Batwoman. Katie Blackburn is the Bengals vice president.
I didn't know there was a Batwoman.
So just out of left field, you said Batwoman owns
the Bengals
on accident. Admittedly, Katie Blackburn changed her name when she got married. It was Katie Blackburn.
Is she a pretty woman?
That's really funny. That
I'm not even acknowledging that question.
There's got to be some big comic book fan who heard that. I was like wow,
what?
Well, I bet most people off the top of their head don't know who owns the Bengals. So,
well, she technically doesn't own them.
Yeah, I know, but
she took over recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also generally at pat myself on the back. I'm good at looking at a college QB and knowing who's going to be good in the NFL.
Seemingly,
but I thought, I liked Justin Fields and I liked Mitch Trubisky. So that doesn't seem to be the problem. But it could even be like you're drafted what? You're 21, 22 years old, right? Chicago's a big city, lot to do. It's probably fun. I don't think it's super easy. Saturday night rolls around. I'm serious. Like look at these smaller cities like Pittsburgh.
What do you mean? There's fun things to do in these cities.
Green Bay. But Chicago, you got everything.
In Green Bay, you go to a local bar and you're drinking till 4 a.m.
But I feel like it's old after a few weeks.
So what? So you're saying I guess if we do go with this,
Chicago, you got a ton of going on.
If we go with this theory that Jack has, which I don't agree with
at
all.
Foxborough, Massachusetts. That's I guess
Boston.
You got Boston, yeah.
But, but your theory is you got New York City; those teams suck. Miami, they generally suck. You got Chicago, who sucks. LA just won a Super Bowl, but other than that, they kind of suck.
But LA plays in Inglewood. It's outside the city.
I get what you're saying. I would be shocked if Michael Jordan won 6 championships in Chicago.
Michael Jordan was just had a head on his shoulders. Maybe Caleb doesn't. Caleb's paying his nails.
The Blackhawks have had some very successful seasons.
Maybe they have good heads on their shoulders.
The Cubs won a World. The Cubs have won a World Series.
Okay, one in 100 years. Yeah. One in 100 years.
I think it is incredible that every sports team in Chicago, except for the White Sox, who I won't even mention, it's so painful. But the rest of all won championships recently, and then there's just the Bears.
But you can also play baseball hungover as hell. The games are also at night. when you have a 1:00 Sunday game afternoon in Chicago. That's not easy playing quarterback.
Well, I remember Big Cat's theory. I was the Patrick Mahomes theory, where Mahomes would even suck if he were on the Bears. And I'm just thinking, with everything going on in Chicago right now, you have Cole Kmet's having to come out and say, no, there's not a mutiny against Caleb Williams. We all still believe in him. It's just such chaos. Of course, this would coincide with the week where you have to host the Green Bay Packers. And Matt LaFleur's 10-0 against the Bears in his time. So it just fits so perfectly for these two teams, where the Bears are reeling in every sense of the word. They're questioning everything. And here comes Dad. Here comes their father into Chicago, who, on the other side of things, how many teams in the NFL could really use a win like the Packers, who need to get winning back under their belt before they go on this tough stretch of games when they're still competing for the NFC North. And frankly, I think their schedule's tough enough that if they don't win this game, the playoffs could come into question a little bit. So it's a perfect situation just for everything about this rivalry, where the Packers will probably walk in there and beat the crap out of the Bears, and everything will return to normal or stay normal in the NFC North. Doesn't that make complete sense?
Isn't this just like the worst spot in the world to draw Jordan Love? Like, you know he's pissed off after everything everyone said about him, how this season's going. And I know this Bears defense can be tough or whatever. As you say, this is like the worst spot in the world to draw this Packers team. They're desperate for a win. I know they beat the Jaguars by 3, but like they've had a tough couple of weeks. They're coming off a bye, so they're fully prepared. Like this is the makings of a slaughter.
We were just talking about too how this was the perfect time for a Packers bye. And now you arguably get the worst team in the NFL in what feels like a must-win game.
That's a little
They're the worst team in the NFL.
They're still the Panthers.
Okay, you're right. Fair.
One of the worst.
One of the worst, yes.
When Caleb's playing like that, they sure are.
Yes.
I mean, that's what's been so frustrating.
Yeah, they did just lose to the Patriots
by 16 points at home.
Yeah, so it's not so crazy.
You're Green Bay. You lose a division game at home. People are getting on J Love. Now you have a bye, an extra week's rest, and you got the Bears who have punted 45 times, and it's been 25 straight possessions as a touchdown, something like that.
Yeah, Caleb's been sacked 15 times in the past 2 games.
You get the worst quarterback ever played in the NFL. This is going to be a bloodbath. Unless the Packers get like the plague and don't show up physically, there's no way on earth this isn't a blowout.
That's horrible. I'm looking at this as again. I feel bad because I don't think the Bears are horrible, and I understand why
they're horrible.
You know, the defense is okay, but this is just a spot where the Bears' offense has been lately. I just don't see the Packers' defense is not bad. The Packers have a good defense. They should be able to come in, and with the struggles Chicago's been having, first game with the new offensive coordinator, sometimes you see these little like jumps in play when you get rid of someone. You know what I'm talking about? Like we're thinking the Antonio Pierce game last year. Like you get these situations. What happened this year? Who just recently won? Or they just fired the coach and won a game. I don't know why I'm blanking on that.
The Saints.
The Saints, yeah. The freaking Saints. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. But you sometimes get these performances, and maybe that's the case. But I just see a situation where Green Bay is able to come in, and their pass rush hasn't been very good all year. But you know what? The Patriots' pass rush hadn't been good all year either, and they had 9 sacks. 9. The Packers have 22 on the year. New England had 9 against the Bears. Unless if Thomas Brown is able to, I don't know, really corral this offense, I think Green Bay will be able to come in there. I would be surprised if they blew them out, but I think that they will convincingly win and just move on.
I had no better spot to get back on track than facing a horrible quarterback.
What do you think, Ziggy? When I'm trying not to be too unfair to the Bears here, but they're having a tough week.
No, I mean, the thing that stands to me is like the Bears offensive line is just, it's a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, they waived Nate Davis today after that back injury. Like Jones and Wright are back and practicing a little bit and might be able to play. But the Packers have talent on the defensive line. And I know they just got rid of Preston Smith, but that's because they've got these young guys they're excited to get in and start giving more snaps. It's just, the blame goes both ways. The blame goes on the Bears offensive line for not protecting Caleb Williams. The blame goes on Caleb Williams for holding on the ball too long and not getting rid of it. But given that this Packers secondary has played pretty well, given that they've got a tough defensive line, and honestly, I think their run defense will be good enough to limit what Swift's able to do, which is the key to beating this Bears team.
You've said it
over and over again.
Every
if
week.
You can limit DeAndre Swift. Look, you can laugh, but it's just true. DeAndre Swift is actually the key to the Bears offense. And if you can shut him down, the Bears offense will be shut down. I'm feeling pretty good about this as a recovery game for the Packers.
You know, I think someone that Caleb Williams could actually look to in a way to kind of getting his feet under him is how Jordan Love looked last year. I was listening to a couple Bears podcasts, and they're so done. Yeah, I think of our good friend Weston Dell, who must just be so disappointed after the 4-2 start to be where they are right now. Just 3 weeks later, or even 2 weeks later. So I think if Caleb Williams, though, think about Jordan Love last year. Remember, Jordan Love was making a ton of mistakes, turnovers in key situations. Like, you kind of got to play a little bit the way Jordan Love did last year before he figured it out. Because Caleb right now, he's not throwing it. You know, he just holds on to the ball.
Stinks.
No, but you get what I'm saying though. Like, he actually doesn't throw the ball. He'll hold on to it. He'll run around. He does what you talk about.
Yes.
Trying to play against,
And I saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah. So
he
I'm
thinks
saying,
it's
like,
Stanford and Wazoo. It's not.
Yeah. He's just got to rip it. And you're going to make a ton of mistakes. The way Jordan Love, unfortunately for Packers fans, has done this year too. But eventually you kind of figure it out or you don't. And at that point, you know, you see what you have in Caleb for real. So I think that this is a spot where I actually kind of want to see Caleb go out and just rip it. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? You lose the 11th straight game or whatever it is to the Packers?
Did I not
throw the ball?
Did I not hit the nail right on the head?
Through 10 weeks, you have.
You know why he doesn't throw it is because when he's scrambling around, it's not like USC where he has Addison 100 yards open down the field. Yeah. It's a different game that does not translate for this guy. I'm telling you. I've said it forever. I've said it forever.
Yeah, this is what worries me about Caleb Williams and why I'm not sure it's so similar to what went on with Jordan Love and the Packers. What worries me is that Caleb Williams looked good for a little while, and then the problems came right back.
Against high school.
And we saw with Jordan Love, there were a lot of growing pains early on in the season for the Packers offense, but once Jordan Love figured it out, he had it figured out for the rest of the season. There was continuity around him, who is in an organization that knows how to coach up coaches or coach up quarterbacks. I mean, if Tom Clement went to the Bears, Caleb Williams would be a Hall of Famer. But it seems like they just don't know how to develop guys there. And I worry with Caleb Williams starting to click and then regressing big time. It's not clear to me that the lessons he learned early on in the season are setting in.
Well, you have to remember, too, though, Jordan Love has been in the league for 5 years. Like, these are Caleb's first 10 games. Even though the same can be said about the actual playing for Jordan Love, like, Caleb has a lot more learning to do still. And I don't think I've actually seen anyone outside of Jack who wrote him off in like March. I don't think anyone else has written Caleb Williams.
I wrote him off when he was still in college.
Yeah, Jack wrote him off when what game was
when
it?
He got
USC
creamed by Utah in the Pac-12 championship.
That's when Jack wrote off Caleb Williams. But no, I see what you're saying, Ziggy. The structural instability of the Chicago Bears, the organizational instability. It's not promising. And every Bears fan, I think after that Jaguars game, when Caleb threw, 4 touchdowns, they were like, all right, we finally did it. We finally broke the streak. And to see the regression that Caleb's had lately, you just go, oh, crap, here we go again. Like what the hell is wrong with us? And I don't know if that's going to get changed until they get the right guy at the top. Because there's just I feel bad. I'm not like calling out for Matt Eberflus. I guess I kind of am. But when you just look at all the stories coming out of Chicago, I mean, you have people talking about leaders wanting Bagent to play. That happened last year too. Like,
I bet that's not true.
Probably not, but it's still like the organization clearly does not have it together, and they haven't had it together for a really long time. And I think any Bears fan would agree with that. There are certain coaches who come in, and this is where I do think coaching matters. If you get the right guy who can have everything from the top of the organization to the bottom in check, that's a huge difference maker. And the Bears need someone like that. Like the Lions were able to do that with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They need their combination of that. And it seems like Matt Eberflus is not going to be the guy. It's just they need to make the right hire coming up.
That's not my argument, by the way.
I
won't get into it, but that's not my argument.
Yeah. But they need to make the right hire and go from there. We'll see how the season ends. I don't know if Eberflus will make it to the end of the year. And beating the Packers could go a long way in making people feel better, because that's just something that never happens in Chicago. But there are a lot of problems that they need to get figured out. And I kind of realized, Jack, in the middle of this, if history does repeat itself, Caleb Williams will be a Pittsburgh Steeler in a few years.
Succeed. Yeah, I would not be a fan anymore if he became a Steeler.
No, you would become you would become the biggest Caleb Williams supporter in the world.
You know what's funny?
You'd be like, this guy has all the talent in the world. He's just never had the right people there. And if we block for him, I mean, you guys saw him at USC. He could extend plays like a madman.
Yes, I would be on his bandwagon.
He launches to Pickens. It doesn't matter if he's covered or not.
You know what's funny? He threw 4 touchdowns against the Jags The Vikings just hung 12 points against the Jags.
Yeah, I know.
No, but that's what I mean. Is Caleb Williams has had some good games. I don't want to pretend like he hasn't done anything. I worry.
Rightfully so.
If there's any team to do it against, if Caleb Williams can play well against the Packers, they're like 5.5 or 6.5 point dogs at home. If he can do that, he'll prove to me he's got a future in the NFL.
I think I would take Green Bay up to 27.5 in this game.
I'm not sure there's any team in the league that has that needs a good game more than the Bears right now.
Could you imagine if the Packers lose, what the reactions are going to be?
Oh,
I mean, that would be hilarious.
No, it's not a must win for the Packers. They'll be 6-4, but
no, but
it's a must win for the Packers vibes.
I think it's a must not lose.
Yes,
for the Packers.
You're totally right.
So if they were playing like the Chiefs or whatever, it's whatever. But loses to the Bears right now.
It's not. You're right, and you're right too, Ziggy. It's about the vibes. It's not that you go to 6-4. You're still generally in pretty good shape, but the vibes are going to be down.
Daylight savings is killing me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. All right. So we all got the Packers. Jack, you think it's a blowout? Ziggy, you blowout or no?
I can actually see the Bears covering this one at 6.5. I don't think they will, but I think the Bears defense is better than what we saw against the Patriots. I don't know. I know Jordan Love is practicing in full, but these groin injuries have a tendency to linger. I think that the Packers will win by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be an absolute annihilation.
That's just the most cop-out answer of all time. I don't think they'll cover, but I could see them covering.
No, look, you're
not going to be wrong, Ziggy. You're not going to be wrong.
I think the game's going to finish between 6 and 10 points for the Packers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go about 10. I'm going to go about 10 points. A comfortable Packer win, but that does not get extremely ugly. But
I mean, can they shut down DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, can. If
they can't shut down DeAndre Swift, the Bears cover every time.
I'm sensing a big game from Jaden Reed.
Yeah,
real big game from
Jaden Reed game here.
Mm-hmm.
DFS players, huh?
I could see it. All right, so there you go. A little Packers Bears preview predictions. Just some talk about the gossip. Some NFC North gossip's kind of fun. It's always a good time when there's the other teams, not the Vikings, are in the news circle. So, all right, we will. And actually, did you guys see Keenan Allen said about Shane Waldron? Too nice of a guy was the quote. He said he was too nice of a guy. OTA's camp, we fell into the trap of letting things go, not holding people accountable. Slippery slope.
Too buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. We will see you guys. We have the Week 11 full preview show coming out as well. So if you want some more content, that's right there for you. We'll see you soon.